Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Builders of Bharat. Builders of Bharat is a series centered around the tech leaders of India who've built illustrious careers staying in this very country. Today, we're in a day and age where opportunities aren't abroad, opportunities are present where you are. And we want to celebrate that with tech leaders like Supriya. Supriya is currently the Senior Vice President Data Engineering at JP Morgan Chase, with over 17 years of experience responsible for defining, leading, and evangelizing analytical solutions, leveraging data science offerings. She has delivered thought leadership and innovation in process, technique, and implementation. Welcome, Supriya. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me here, Mukul, and thank you for approaching me constantly. So, when you approach me, for first of all, this is the first time I'm talking about my own journey.
Right.
And when you told me the first time this idea, right, I was feeling very belittled because I feel that I'm on my own journey to learn, achieve, and I have my own career path, right? So when you put this perspective to me, it put me in a retrospective mode where I have to think about what you really want to know, because my success story is already there on the social media, right? So what is
Right.
new, something which you want to know with me? And I think the whole journey itself, when you talk about your success, the one thing which the social media does not talk about is how you did it and how did you fail. So
Right.
while I went through some of your questions today, I don't want to open your cards, but today I will try to be as honest as possible, and I'll try to share my failures and my paths about how I reached here. Okay, so
Wonderful.
thank you so much for having me on the platform.
It's glad to hear that because that's what we hope for. I believe there is a lot of glamorized content in the internet, and we lack the certain honesty and acceptance in how we got to where we are. And I'm glad we're going to start this journey with your story. And to start your story, I'd like to start with your story and where you grew up and how your formative years were in school. What kind of areas were you fascinated by, and just a clear understanding of how you got into the world of tech.
Thank you for that question, Mukul. So, I have been my native belong to Bihar, and I have been born and brought up there. My parents had been teachers, so
Mhm.
I belong to a very middle class family, where I had been very disciplined in my childhood, because my both my parents had been my father was a university professor and my mother had been a school teacher. So we had been to a very disciplined family. But having said that, we I belong to a very small town where
Mhm.
you have a very restricted vision. You don't have, you don't have guidance, first of all, about, like, I feel very privileged now being in Bangalore, and my son, I can see how much privilege he has and how much, vision he has for different things he can do in his life. We didn't had it
Mhm.
in our childhood.
Right.
So it had been a very focused life where we had a very constrained life. You
Mhm.
have targets also, when you set your targets for your life, you have very constrained targets where you want to achieve only this much and you don't have a vision beyond it. So,
Right.
but there are two things which I want to call out, which I learned through that phase of it. One is to make the best use of whatever resource I have,
Right.
because, and that helps me today also, because not at every part of your life you will be
Mhm.
supplemented with all resources. But if you have
Exactly.
whatever resource you have, can you put it in the best way and can you make best out of it? That is one thing.
Mhm.
And the second thing is, life is always a journey. It can have ups and downs, and when you have down, when we cycle, right, when we go on a slope, if you get a
Mhm.
slope, then you have to paddle higher, faster. I always believe in that when I come through hurdles in my life. And that is something I learned in my childhood, because I had a very constrained childhood. And I felt that whenever you have hurdles, you have to be more, sticking to your goal. You have to be more constrained and working throughout it so that you achieve it.
It's really interesting that your parents were both into academics, and I'm sure that would have contributed to you in your day-to-day studies as well, because I believe that constrained lifestyle is a lifestyle where you have your studies and you have these areas that you need to excel at. So during those years, I understand that the field you are in right now is a very exploratory field, right? But at the same time, with the way our education system is set up and how, constrained lifestyles for children is. So, in that part, was there a part of you that wanted to explore and did some experiments, or let's say, try to find avenues where you could, focus your interest on?
See, as it's told, right, we never had a vision. I never knew
Hmm.
what I want to become because I never
Right.
had a vision beyond. And that's why many things in my life has happened accidentally to me. And
Hmm.
but one thing which I believe is while you are walking throughout your path in life, there will be multiple opportunities which will strike you. And
Hmm.
I never say a no to an opportunity. If an opportunity strikes me, whether I know it or whether I don't know it, if I don't know it, I have to prepare for it and I have to, it's an opportunity for me, so
So,
I cannot miss it.
yes, yes.
That's how, that is my mindset.
All right. And so you said you haven't planned for a lot of things and things just happened and you adapted yourself to deal with those things the best way you can. So how did the opportunity, or let's say the chance or of tech come in front of you, and how did you embrace it?
Very accidentally, actually. So I
Hmm.
completed my schooling, and I was not I was not having privilege of doing the IITs, and I failed to complete the engineering entrance when I
Hmm.
was in 12th. Okay, so I didn't complete it through any of the big colleges entrance, and I was not in engineering. So what was the best I can see around was people doing, some students doing BCA. That is the
Right.
best I can see, and that's why I entered into BCA. I have completed my BCA and then MCA. Of course, when you complete BCA and then you step into MCA, and again the technology part of it, it is, I think, I it the technology part of it is also the placement which has happened. It is
Hmm.
just a mere chance that I get into that opportunity, and then I prepared myself for that. That's how it
Right.
has happened. I have
Right.
never planned a long term goal whether I really want to be in technology. I never
Hmm.
planned like that.
And across your journey through college, I'm sure you were a gold medalist while you were doing your MCA. And so at that point, was there somewhere a voice in your head that made you feel like you were really good at what you were doing?
Okay, so yes, I am a gold medalist MCA, and I first time stepped out of my town and I completed my MCA from New Delhi.
Hmm.
So when I was doing this, right, I got an opportunity, and my parents actually supported me. They gave me the opportunity to go long way for a girl from a very small town to coming to New
Right.
Delhi just to study, right? It was a big
Hmm.
thing for me, big opportunity for me. So I wanted to make the best of it, and that's what I did. I put my all my effort to the study, and that's how I became a
Hmm.
gold medalist. But
Right.
I'll also like to highlight here the flip of it. When it came to the placements, right, and I had been not only the gold medalist, I think I'm a record breaker of that university until now. Whatever marks I have scored, it is
Hmm.
still the same. I am still the record breaker of that
That's
university.
amazing.
But when it came to the placement, right, I had been lacking through the communication, and I had been a very big introvert. I was not
Hmm.
able to open up to the people, not able to express my ideas. And that's why CSC is my first company, but CSC was not the first company in the campus. So
All right.
multiple companies came into campus and they didn't selected me, although I was the best in my studies.
Hmm.
And it is very important for me to highlight that I got rejected mainly in the HR rounds,
All
where they
right.
rejected me, and my training and placement officer was in shock because
Mm-hmm.
I had been the best student of the university. So he
Absolutely.
was in a shock, and he really pleaded sometime the HR that she will do the best. She is the best I have, but the
Mm-hmm.
HR were not convinced because I was not communicative enough. I was not able to express. I was not able to connect to the people, and that
Right.
is the first lesson, again, the very different lesson for me, where I found that communication plays such an important role in your life. And although no
Yes.
matter what you know, if you're not able to express it, or if you're not able to communicate it,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter to the world.
Right. And as you said, you landed your first job. So I understand that communication and the hurdles in the HR round. So what was it about the DXC round wherein you were able to pass through it and actually crack that job?
Yeah, so I failed and failed. Okay, there are five, six companies which came, and they selected almost 60-70% of my college students, and I was not selected. I was in trauma, but trauma, as I told, I have learned from the childhood, right? If you are in trouble, then if you are on slope, you have to paddle faster. So
Yes.
that is always so. I have to adapt to it, and I have to quickly figure out what I had been going wrong. So it gave
Right.
me some time. I failed through five, six interviews, but I give me the option.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally cracked CSC. CSC was the company which I cracked through. But when I joined CSC and I settled well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put it as my objective, and that is where my coaching started. I
All right.
joined a firm which was doing a coaching for the students. They do
Wonderful.
coaching for most of the reputed college universities in NCR,
Interesting.
where they go to the colleges and they connect to the students, and they do the classes on group discussions, interview, and all. Okay, so
All
when
right.
I was a employee of CSC, right, I went to them,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to them because I wanted to do class with them. Okay, I went to explore with them, and I thought that I'll do classes with them, and I'll tell them that you teach me how to do group discussion and interview. To my surprise, that person placed me as a trainer. Okay, and trust me, the first time when I was facing a student of 40 50 students, and they're big students, right, engineering
Right.
students,
Yes.
MCA students, MBA students, I was, I have never faced such a big audience,
Right.
and it was very difficult for me for the first two, three classes, but then I
Mm-hmm.
adapted. Okay. And
Yes.
I coached them, and I think more than coaching them, I developed myself as a human. I, I got a very different perspective of myself where I
Mm-hmm.
enhanced my communication at a different level.
And that must have helped you build intrapersonal relationships as well. Right?
Not that much because I was mainly in academics, and I was an
Mm-hmm.
employee of CSC, right? So I was doing it
Right.
part time on Saturdays and Sundays. I
Right.
used to visit universities in Agra, Mathura, NCR, Noida, Gurgaon, and other places. So
Mm-hmm.
not that much in building the network because I was mainly dealing with students. But
Right.
yes, it helped me enhance my skills, interpersonal skills.
Yes. Wonderful. And post CSC, so you moved to DXE after that, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, DXC had been my first company. Okay,
Right.
DXC, and it is because it is the first company, so you join just pass out from the college, so
Mm-hmm.
you have a great connect with your peers because
Right.
peers, you all are freshers, right? So the managers
There's a lot
also,
of
you don't
bonding.
have, yeah, you don't complain about your managers, but you
Mm-hmm.
treat your managers also a teacher because you came from that mindset.
Yeah.
So it had been a big home for me. And also I was at that point of time I was unmarried, so
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time, early morning, late nights, working through installs. I put my all effort just to do whatever was required to support my, and that was, it is a very dream part of my life where
Mm-hmm.
I really worked hard and I explored. Of course, this is a place where I networked hard, and I think
Yes.
most of the managers which had been there are still
Mm-hmm.
my advisor. They are still act as my career mentor till now.
That's wonderful. And you worked with JP Morgan back then in your first
Yeah,
interview.
yeah. So
Yes.
not really JP Morgan. See, what happened was I was working with CSC, and
Hmm.
CSC was working for Washington Mutual.
All right.
Washington Mutual Bank merged into JP Morgan. So I worked
Wonderful.
for JP Morgan for a very short time as an employee of CSC,
Hmm.
working for JP Morgan. Yes.
It's amazing. And now you're sitting at a leadership position in JP Morgan Chase. So efforts go a long way. And it's really nice to see that, you know, the learnings from even training people and, coaching people that you did on your weekends, and all of that paid off in the form of being able to build connections at your first job and kind of have the mentors that you today still have. So I think this is a message for everyone that's watching as well, that the mentorship that you can gain from investing into your network and investing into your seniors at your workplace is goes a long way, and then the returns of it compound for the years to come. Wonderful. And so you're working as a module lead back there. So what goes into a day to day of a module lead?
Yeah, because I was working for CSC, but I was actually working for Washington Mutual. So
Hmm.
we have, as a module lead, you simply own a product, or you simply own
Hmm.
some modules of a product, and you're
All right.
responsible for that. So back in CSC, that was my role. I was
Hmm.
mainly working for deposits. I have always been in my whole career of 17 years. I work for banks across different domain. That time I was more
Hmm.
in deposits and
All right.
customer information system, preferred customers. So I was owning that module, and that's how that how the role is. That role was called module lead because I think they own some part of the module of the bigger product which we
Hmm.
deliver for the banks.
And how important was it to you understand how banks are actually functioning at that stage? Because I understand that you came from a tech background, right? So how important was it for you to understand the inner workings of a bank and, model your solutions to fit those problems?
That is a very great question which you asked, Mukul. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize as early as CSC, DXC, and even in iGate, I didn't
Mhm.
understand the understanding of domain, how
Mhm.
important it is to understand the domain. Now, because I'm a matured, experienced professional, I can say that understanding the domain makes so much of difference. And that's how I career. When I career the people, I always talk about data, and they always
Mhm.
talk about data and the technology, but I say that data and technology is two aspect of it, but then also focus on domain. Back on those days I was not at all that mature, and but yes, I was lucky. As I told, my
Mhm.
managers in CSC had been a great mentor, and
Mhm.
time to time, we had been skilled across domain and across technology, so that way I had been helpful. But I was not that mature to understand that domain plays such a vital role in your career
All right.
until later part of my life.
Yeah. But I guess it was the formative years where you built your expertise in, banking and deposits in particular, that led you to kind of build on that knowledge and, get into the bigger companies that you did. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is a very good point which you have, carved. And not only deposits. I work with now. I am working with payments, and
Absolutely.
earlier I was with KIC and client onboarding. Now that I know and understand domain, I spend a lot of time not only on myself but also on my team. When I explain something, I make sure that they don't understand it, what they have to deliver, and how
Right.
the technology can be used, or the skill set stack can be used in order to deliver it. But we understand the end-to-end flow of the, until you understand why you need this solution, you cannot
Mhm.
deliver how. You deliver how,
Yes.
but if you don't understand why, then it is worthless. You can deliver it, but it is very
It
less
won't
of
address all the
value.
problems.
Yeah. So if you want to see the problem statement from the eyes of the client or the customer, it is very
Mhm.
important to understand the end-to-end process, and that's what I emphasize now with my team and myself.
It's wonderful. So your role from this particular stint moved to a technology lead, which I'm guessing you were managing people back then. So, how was that transition, and how did you happen to move out of that company and move on to iGate?
Yeah, so not only the company changed, I actually switched my place. I was settled in Noida, and after marriage, I came to Bangalore. When I came to
Wonderful.
Bangalore, I get happened to me very easily. I gave the interview and I passed through it, so I joined it. And yes, you said rightly that the culture itself is very different. The DXC as a company and iGet as a company are two very different things. Also, module lead, as a module lead, I was owning the modules, while here this is a technology. It's not a people manager thing, but I have again, even in iGate, I was working for RBC, Royal Bank of Canada,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
my role were very similar to, not only technical. It was a technology plus technical lead kind of thing.
Mhm.
Also, there was a vital change which happened. Is iGate is a place where my son got born, and
Oh.
because you got iGate as a separate company, because that was a phase they had a daycare, okay, and that
Mhm.
was very supportive for me, because in the daycare, if you have a daycare in your premises, you can somehow balance your life much easier
Right.
than balancing your daycare
It's
outside.
it's the
So
mental peace that you get knowing
yeah,
the child
exactly.
is nearby.
And I belong, my son is a teen now. So when he was born,
Mhm.
we had maternity leave only of 80-85 days. Okay. So I had to carry my son to office right from the
Mhm.
90th days. Okay. 3 month old baby. So having that, daycare facility in the campus helped me a lot. And also because RBC, the culture of iGate was quite supportive. The work life balance you can maintain. So
Mhm. So, I'm guessing that with the changing circumstances in life, you had to move to a different company, and that's again something that you didn't plan. So, as you moved locations, I understand that Noida was a completely different area. You moved to Bangalore, which at the time was, booming and starting to boom. So, how was it like from, I understand that workplace culture was great, but how is the cultural shift like from a place like Noida to a place like Bangalore?
this is again a very interesting question. Okay, now I love Bangalore and don't want to go back to North. Okay,
Mhm.
but back then when I came from Delhi to Bangalore, I felt this place is not glamorous. Delhi is full of glamour. That's how I
Right.
was. So I didn't find this place at all happening.
Mhm.
Everything closes on time, 9 and 10. All the shops are closed. People are back home. So I was not, that was a different phase of my life. So when
Right.
the place shift, I think that was how that time I felt. But now I feel Bangalore as a very, I'm well settled in Bangalore now, and my son got born here. I think from the education perspective or from any perspective, I think I love
Mhm.
Bangalore. So I'm well settled now here.
That's great. So I mean, since Noida itself has also grown, but we understand that Bangalore as a whole has grown, exponentially. And I think it's sometimes the culture of the place which opens you up to, opportunities in a complete diverse, as you said, workplace culture also. I mean, it's the area that molds that kind of workplace culture as well. So, I understand that iGate was again a cultural boost for you. And so at that time, you were working with deposit systems and you were starting to kind of, I guess, venture into the world of data science as well. So, how was it? What kind of interests did you develop, and what kind of opportunity did you see at that time that, kind of made you pivot to data science and trying to expand your career there?
Thank you for that question. And Mukul, I will surely say that you did a lot of research on myself. When I think about myself, I myself do not have as many questions as you are asking me. So thank you for doing that research. And yes, again, the data part of it started from ANZ. When I joined ANZ
Mhm.
in 2013, I joined there and I spent quite a long time with ANZ Bank. It is one of the leading bank of Australia.
Absolutely.
So when I joined there, the requirement for that job description was, they wanted a person who are nowadays called full stack developer, right? They
Right.
want people who have worked in different technologies, and they want people who have worked across different databases and they can connect through those.
Mhm.
Those days this terminology was not there, full stack developer terminology was not there. I am talking of 2013. But they wanted people who have worked on different technologies, and they can connect to different database and they can derive data insights. That was the job
Okay.
requirement, and I was the right fit for it, but I was not a data person. Okay.
Mhm.
And they knew it. They knew that I'm not a data person, but because they knew it and they hired me, I had a lot of support from ANZ. Also, ANZ is a bank which holds a very different, the theme is empower people, lead with empathy. These are some of the
Mhm.
terminologies which ANZ use, and they live with it. They live with
Right.
it. So as a managers, I got a big platform there to innovate. And because you asked about my data journey, data science and machine learning are all new terminologies which has come into market. I think that these terminologies have come only when the academics have merged into the industry.
Right.
Earlier, we had very different type of terminologies. We had predictive analytics. We have something called, DevOps or
Mhm.
automation, and very different kind of terminologies. We have modernization project where we were still doing modeling, but we were not
Mhm.
talking about it as a machine learning.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, so I have seen all those phases of data. I grew up
Mhm.
from dashboarding, putting the data insights on dashboard, developing, automating many of the thing, going through RPA process and other thing, and then doing the modeling through predictive analytics, statistics, and other things. And then finally, this data science and machine learning, eventually that these
Mhm.
terminologies came into the picture. Yes.
All right. Wonderful. So that's really insightful for people who are getting into data science currently. I understand that academics has evolved since then, and there's a lot of resources to their avail. But it is really important, I believe, to kind of implement what you're learning and having that hands-on approach, even when you're joining a new company and there's certain aspects that you need to work on. To have that urgency is very important, I feel. And I feel like you really highlighted that. I understand that ANZ is, a multinational company, the largest bank in Australia, and so their development center in India is something you would call a global captive center, a GCC. And you worked at a multinational company when there weren't as many GCCs in India. So what was the experience like getting into a brand that's global, has its niche and it's big in Australia. It wasn't a company that was truly like global, but still they were really big in Australia. So how was your experience working in MNC from that perspective?
Yeah, as I said, see, again, ANZ does not happen. I didn't plan for ANZ. Okay, I was already working with ANZ via DXC. In my
Yes.
DXC career, I worked some years with ANZ, and
Hmm.
that's how I came to Bangalore. Actually, I got
Right.
transferred from Bangalore, CSC Noida to CSC Bangalore, working
Hmm.
for ANZ.
All right.
And then later I joined ANZ as an employee. So that is a
Hmm.
different story. But talking about ANZ as a MNC, right? As I told, first of all, this is an Australian bank. Okay, so the
Hmm.
working hours which we have there is 7 to 4 or 8 to 5, which gives a perfect work life balance. If you are a new mother, I had been a new mother that time.
Hmm.
There were a lot of support. Also, as a platform, they hired me and I was not through data, right? The
Hmm.
kind of support which they provide you to, if you want to innovate, you need to know
Right.
the process. You need to understand the process, and then you have to build on top of it. And for that
Hmm.
matter, you need a lot of support. So I'm grateful to the managers because they have to believe and invest in you, to explain you what the process they are doing, and then they have to give you free hands in order to
Hmm.
innovate or to excel in their own things. So I that way I had a lot of support from my managers. And as I said, ANZ always say empower people.
Yes.
um, So it actually give you a platform where you can, empower people, you can lead with empathy. That's how
Mhm.
I think as a manager now, I hold a lot of empathy, and I think that culture, that seed had been given to me by ANZ culture. So that's how had ANZ had been in my career.
I guess culture goes a long way in, molding the careers of people who are working there. And supportive cultures are actually what enable you to upskill on your job as well. I noticed that you did your PGED in machine learning and AI at the time you were in ANZ. So, walk me through how you came to, invest that time and effort into, pursuing a PGD, and also why you chose AI and ML at that
Yeah, so as I told Mukul, I'm not new to data. Okay, I had been in data from last 12, 13 years, and
time.
but when you work in a company, right? I was working for ANZ for a long time, so you work with a common set of people in a common framework, in a common principle. You have a same company principle, so you are exposed to a certain set of skill sets. Not only skill set, you have certain framework. Okay,
Right.
that is the only limit where I was exploring AI and ML. But
Mhm.
outer in the world, I can see that there are so much happening, with academics now merging into industry. There are so many courses which had launched in 2017. I think 2017-18 was the boom when they
Right.
started with these courses. And now I think all IIT IIMs have this.
Yes.
But those
Yes.
days, it was not there. 2017 and 18 was when they started. So,
Mhm.
as a data leader, I was already a data analytics lead in ANZ, but I
Mhm.
really wanted to know what market trends are going on. And I cannot know, no matter how much you go on YouTube or how much you go on social media, you're never
Mhm.
guided. You can explore
Yes.
one thing, you can go through a set of things, but you are
Mhm.
never sure that you are guided through, and this is all you want to know. So I
Right.
wanted to have a guided platform where I can go through all the market trends which is going on. And
Mhm.
also, when you are on a learning path, as a professional, some days are at a peak when you learn 5 hours at a stretch and you feel very, yeah, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
But other day you don't do even a minute of learning. So I wanted
Right.
a dedicated platform where I had to learn. So if you join these kind of courses, they give you
Mhm.
weekly targets, and
Okay.
you are born to do. So when I consulted through, I completed my PG diploma through upgrad, and when I
Mhm.
talked to the mentor, the best part which he told me is that you will get weekly goals, and that is what I really wanted. I want weekly goals, so that no matter what happens to me, I have to
Mhm.
complete it on that week.
Right.
And that's why I think I did this course. First of all, in order to know the market trend in a very systematic way, and secondly, to be on track, so that every day I have to study something and every day I have to learn something.
So that structure is what sold you.
Yes.
Something that you were exposed to as a child as well, and you wanted a similar learning experience for when you were older as well.
Yeah.
And it's great because I believe upskilling when you're feeling that stagnation is the best cure to that feeling, because it just stays the back of your mind, and you'll have a good day of work, but at the end of the day you'll feel that doubt coming in where you feel that I've stagnated in this particular space. So it's really interesting that you had your approach to solving that was learning, and I believe that's when you decided to give back and join Upgrad as a mentor as well. So, how's that journey been, speaking to people and guiding them on their journeys in AI?
Yeah, so when I was, I was on my own. Coaching is not new to me. I told you I have been coaching
Yes,
from quite a long time.
right.
But I joined Upgrade as a career mentor, first of all, because of, two things. One is when you are a career mentor, right? You are not
Mhm.
only helping people through technology or through the platform or through the learning. Many
Right.
a times, you have made some mistakes,
Mhm.
and what is experience for that matter. For me, experience is a mixture of both your success and a failure. And more of your failure, because when you succeed you hardly learn anything. So
Right.
when you fail you learn, but it is not necessary that you only fail and you learn. You can learn
Mm-hmm.
from the failure of others. So
Yes.
my motive of becoming a coach was, if I have done something wrong, can I
Mm-hmm.
tell that experience to my mentees, and can they make best use of it? That is one point of it. And second point of it was, of course, when I met many of the people while I was having my own journey, I
Mm-hmm.
find that many of the people in industry, if you talk about the working professional, they are ready to upskill. Okay, they are
Mm-hmm.
ready to upskill, and they are ready to invest also, because these are very high paid courses which you are, but they need a push. They will say, yeah, I really want to do this, I really, but they want a push ki ha, you
Yes.
go and do it. So that push only a career mentor can do. That push,
Mm-hmm.
no one can do it unless they have gone through their own phase,
Right. Right.
because you are almost on the cliff and you're ready to fly, but
Mm-hmm.
you are holding back because you have a fear, because it's not easy, because you, if you take a course, right, it's 13 14 months course,
Yes.
and
It's a commitment.
yeah, you have a commitment. Every week you have a commitment, and then you have
Right.
exams in between. The way the mentors, the student mentors explain, you get little fear also with
Mm-hmm.
whether, because you have not studied. Many of the working professionals have not studied. After they completed their masters or something, they have joined the organization, they might have not studied from last 10 12 years. So
Right.
taking this course is a huge commitment,
Mm-hmm.
and I think many of the professionals are committed, but they need a push from back ki ha, you can do it, you just go and do it. So that's how, these are the two things I became a career mentor. One is that I should tell people what mistakes I have done,
Yeah.
and can they make the best use of it. And second thing is, can I motivate some people who are already motivated, they are already there, but I just have to push them and then
Give
say,
them that
yeah, go
nudge.
do it,
Yes.
something like that. Yeah.
So we've actually inculcated that in our community as well. So our community Rebase, which is a developer community, we've had mentors coming from Google, Uber, Microsoft, Atlassian, and we've kind of helped our community members to get in touch with them. And it's the thing you said, that little nudge is all it takes, and that direction is already available in countless resources. The structure is something that through courses and through upskilling that can be achieved. So I think that's quite the formula for success if you want to level up and kind of grow in your industry. So after that, you made an interesting move to retail, and Levi Strauss happened. So what was going in your mind when you made that jump? You had such a long experience in banking and finance, and to kind of make that jump to retail suddenly, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, so Levi's is a very welcoming company. Okay,
Hmm.
it carries a very nice culture, and I had one of the best managers there. I worked there for a very short period, but I always wanted to break through banking, and I wanted to experience different domains.
Okay.
Because the use cases changes, when you say
Hmm.
price and promo, demand
Yeah.
forecasting, you talk about traffic forecasting, all these are not
Hmm.
there in banking. You cannot talk
Right.
about all these, right? So what are these? If you really want to know, you can go learn, but you will never get a first hand experience unless you do it.
Yes.
So that was the purpose. I wanted to break through the domain, and
Hmm.
Levi's was not easy for me. They did, I think, 6 7 rounds of interview. Okay,
Right.
and every step I thought, ki that's it. I think now they will tell me that you have been through banking, and I
Hmm.
really prepared well. They had been use cases. They used to discuss their use cases. They used
Right.
to talk about their use cases, and at that level, I think that's how the interview happens.
Hmm.
They want solutions from you. They don't want that what technology doesn't
Right.
matter. Python, okay, go home. They want solutions from you. So
Yeah.
I really used to work on the read through the retail, and I used to figure out how they are solving the problem and go back on the
Hmm.
platform and do the interviews with them. And I cracked all their rounds. And when I joined Levi's, I think one of the best companies to work with. My manager was in Singapore, and very supportive manager, very welcoming company and very supportive manager. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And how exciting was it to have, different use cases that you could apply? And what was your, emotional situation then? Because I understand that when you've been working in a particular industry for so long, you get this kind of, again, that was a stagnation that you talked about. And you upskilled yourself and you've kind of landed this job in a completely retail-oriented company. So, what was it like for you to have that freedom in terms of the use cases you could build?
Yeah, see, the best part about retail and the difference I felt from banking is when we deploy anything in banking, right?
Hmm.
To reach the customer and get the feedback, it take months. You cannot get, because I'm not dealing, even if I deal with deposits or loans or anything, any
Hmm.
solution which you put in data science in banking, the solution hit the customer and then you get the feedback. You have to wait for 2 3 months in order to figure
Right.
out how it happened to the customer, how the
Hmm.
customer welcomed it. But in retail, we were working with price and promo. So one of the use case which I was working very closely there were, you have sales on Myntra, and
Hmm.
they used to predict the price for Levi's, and price and promo was one of the. And then we did a lift and shift from the Asia domain to many other regions in Levi's. So you put a solution and your results are very. So how the sale performed, suppose you
Hmm.
put a sale on a holy festival on
Yeah.
Myntra, and your model is working to do the price and promo. So how the sale is doing and how the market is performing, you can figure it out then and there.
Real time.
That is the best part I found in retail. So any solution which you put will have a direct hit on the, which was sometimes scary also, because if your model is not performing well,
Right.
you will be then and there caught. But then, yeah, it
Yeah.
was very innovative because you have to capture very real lifetime events and then
Hmm.
build up on the model into that, which is very
Yeah.
different from banking. Yeah.
All right. And so after this particular journey in retail, you moved back to banking and you moved in a leadership role. And this is very important for anyone watching. What goes into landing a leadership role like that?
See, when you see leadership role, actually, I had been leading from quite a long time. I had been
Yeah.
a technical lead, and then Levi's also I was leading only, and then here, yes, the difference was the team was bigger here.
Hmm.
Yeah, so landing into leadership role, you get to wear different hats. You are not in the individual contributor role. You
Right.
think about your project team, and not only the team, you have to plan for your team growth.
Hmm.
So anything which you accomplish is not your success, now you have a team
Okay.
success. And then you start planning your career path not only for yourself but for each
Hmm.
individual of your team. And
Yes.
then you get many new skills, right? You connect how to connect to each individual in your team, whether
Right.
you know the strength and weakness of each member of your team, how connected
Hmm.
are you with your team, right? So suppose
Yes.
I call a person in my team and I say that, today 12 o'clock you have to work for it. Will that
Hmm.
person work for me? Because, if it is work commitment, no one will work at 12 o'clock.
Right.
But am I connected to that person to that limit that if I say that this is for the process, can they work for me?
Hmm.
Those are very different type of skill sets. So you rightly said, when you enter into leadership, you learn these new traits other than the technology, other than making hands in hand with the data, upskilling and the trends which I was doing through. Of course, these were because I have a bigger team, bigger planning.
Right.
You learn about many things, budgeting, talking to the stakeholder. That is another
Hmm.
aspect of it now. The business which I have to do, earlier when you have a small team, you have a
Right.
cooked statement, this is a problem statement and you solve for it. So you have
Hmm.
very limited to explore through. But when you get into these kind of role, the problem statements are not clear. You have to go and talk to the stakeholder, figure out what is this problem statement, and then
Yes.
come back, put it in your backlog, put it in agile board, involve them.
Hmm.
So all these are new learning. These are some new learnings which we have.
That you again learned on the go. because you had to adapt. Wonderful. And since then, you've grown at JP Morgan Chase, and you've had so many accolades to your name. The biggest for me would be the Google Women Tech Makers Ambassador. And what was the feeling like for that particular accolade? And what kind of change could you see in yourself that you had to implement from your own end?
See, when we get involved in these are all volunteer activity which you're talking
Yeah.
about, and of course, accolades comes when you are contributing beyond your role, right?
Mhm.
So accolades are byproducts of your what you contribute. So I don't count
Yes.
the accolades much, but of course, when because you talked about Google Tech Maker, right? When you are involved with such big organization, and you have been given a role and responsibility, I think those are very important when you are involved. Not only Google, I am also involved with IEEE, and
Yes.
when you are in those organization in committee, and when you are planning through things, I think
Mhm.
there is a wider role and responsibilities for you, and there are more expectations from you, so that you give
Mhm.
back to the society. And how you give back to your society, it's also about your upliftment, whether
Right.
I am capable to give back, and if I have to prepare myself first, let me
Mhm.
prepare myself and then I can give back. So that way,
Yes.
in getting involved with all the volunteer activity which I'm doing now,
Mhm.
I think it presented me with a broader platform beyond my
Yes.
working capabilities, beyond my working company, where
Mhm.
I had bigger roles to play, and I have to prepare myself in order to contribute to the society.
I think that's really commendable that you had this initiative in yourself. What are some things that you observe in these volunteer activities that are, rampant, especially in India's context, where, the women in STEM number is on the rise, but it's still not where it needs to be. And what do you notice are, some things that either are a progressive sign to you or are, hurdles in the way of the growth that's needed?
See, this question always comes when you talk about leaderships also, and people ask why women in STEM fall down, right? The number fall
Mhm.
down. So there are two aspects of it. One is, of course, you will have the surrounding pressure and you have to face it. But I think the most important thing which I feel in women in STEM, woman as a woman, you are filled with self guilt, always.
Mhm.
So if you have to maintain a work life balance, if you have to maintain your family along with your professional life, as a woman, you always tick out everything which happens to everyone else rather than ticking out what will happen to you. You are somewhere, if you develop a priority list of what task you have to do, and
Mhm.
you are also there on your list because you have to take care of yourself. I think that was the last checkbox which as a woman checks. And
Right.
I think that's how, because you are not really passionate about, you are passionate about, but then it is on your last priority. You think your
Mhm.
family is more important, your career somehow is happening, so it is okay to carry on, but then you tick that upskilling or uplifting yourself or learning as a last thing because it comes as a lowest priority. And not that is the lowest priority, I think more than the expectation of people around you. Many time when I connect with women, and I was also like that, you
Mhm.
do something for yourself and you feel guilt. You go out and attend some conference on a Saturday and Sunday, and you feel like I would have spent this time with your family. That happens to 90% of the women. And I think that once that guilt start getting killed, right, we can be
Mhm.
more subtle and more focused on our own goal.
I think that's a great insight, and prioritizing yourself will never disappoint you because you'll always see returns from that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great message for our audience. And we have a few questions coming in from our community. Uh, if you could give some advice to your younger self, just starting your career, and if you could maybe change something that about what you did, what would it be?
I think as a woman, giving priority to my health, Okay.
All right.
So as a woman, when you grow up, right, and I had always been a passionate person. I always wanted to excel in my career, so I took my career and my family in parallel. I never thought career is my second priority. I always wanted to excel. But
Mhm.
one thing which I never thought of in early days of my 20s or 30s is my health. It's only after I started seeing symptoms, bad symptoms in my body, that I got aware of it. And I think this is the advice I will give to my younger self, that while you prioritize your list for your career and your family and whatever your life, you also put health, and health remains as an important aspect of you, because as a woman you can take care of everything around you, you can stand for
Mhm.
everything, but if you are not in a good health, nothing actually matters.
Yeah.
You will not have that mindset, or you will not have a frame in which you can excel. So taking care of your health plays a vital role, and I do it now. I understand the importance of it now.
What are some things that you're doing currently, like for your wellness?
Yeah, some, doing very simple thing, doing a run every day, or taking a brisk walk whenever you are free, walking through the
Mhm.
stairs, eating in a proportionate manner. You are not eating on a timely manner.
Right.
You eat in when the bell calls you,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
when you feel, not that you are working throughout the day and you realize, oh, I didn't do my lunch, and then you go
Mhm.
and have your lunch at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So those are very small things, but it makes a
Right.
lot of keeping yourself hydrated
Yes.
throughout the day. Yeah, these are very
Simple,
small
simple
things.
lifestyle adjustments can make the difference as well.
Yes.
Wonderful.
But truly speaking, Mukul, this sounds very simple, but
Takes
it is
commitment
never
again.
in the priority. Yeah, it is never in
Right.
the priority. And when you don't think about your health, all
Mhm.
this actually doesn't make sense. It was not
And you're
making
not able
sense.
to perform there either. So
Exactly.
it's a wasted effort. All right. The second question is, so in your opinion, what distinguishes a good leader from, I wouldn't say a bad leader, but a leader, what makes a leader better, actually?
Yeah, so see, this question also, one thing I believe is there is nothing called leader. Okay,
Mhm.
when I'm working with a team of big numbers, say I have a big team, then the more I try to behave as a leader and I try
Mhm.
to be a dictator. I don't think leaders are nowadays dictator. You cannot dictate.
Yeah.
So I think the best leader is who connects with
Mhm.
your team. Do you know your team? Do you know each individual? Do you know their strength and weakness? And as a leader, how you can empower them?
Right.
Can you help them with the career path? Because see,
Mhm.
after working, everyone, now we are in a data field, and I think the most paid field in IT, right? So
Mhm.
to retain your own resources, right? It is very important that you talk beyond project. If you
Right.
keep talking about what the project demand and what the work demand, does not help a resource. So
Mhm.
as a leader, you should be empowering people to learn, upskill, enhance, and also involve. Many a times I hire very good data scientists and data engineers, and they are
Mhm.
passionate about doing some social activity, doing
Right.
some work on the ground. So
Mhm.
you should know what they are passionate about as a leader, and you should
Mhm.
provide them platforms where they can excel. That is very important. Also, as a leader, you should have the vision. You should have a clear vision of what your projects require, and
Mhm.
you should bring everyone in your team to that vision. Your vision should be the team vision, and that only a leader can do. The
Right.
sooner you do it, the better your project will perform.
Think that that's a great point to end with. And I guess this whole session was just the way you described your journey and the way you just adapted to each challenge is truly remarkable. And the success that you have today is a result of grit, I would say. And I believe you may say that you hadn't planned anything, but I believe you had a vision to succeed, and that is what led you to this success. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of Recro and our community and the audience watching for sharing your story. And as you said, so honestly talking about your failures. It's been truly a pleasure, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Mukul. It was a great pleasure being here, and thank you for giving me this opportunity because when I was going through my own pages of life, it takes you through your own journey and it helps you realize through what phases you have done, which is not very common. We don't do it. I think I did it after a long, long time. So, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for giving me this platform.
Glad to hear that. And to the audience, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time with with the next episode of Builders of Bharat.